Quantum Entity. We are all one. The following is a theatrical presentation of an extract from the novel Quantum Entity. We are all one by Dr. Bruce M. Firestone. This presentation was recorded at and produced by Prototype D Urban Workshops in Ottawa, Ontario. The cast includes Jessica Edwards as Miss Nell, Teresa Schultes as Ellen Brooks, Julian Nolan as Damien Bell, Dr. Bruce Firestone as Dr. Zimmerman, Dan Johnston as Peter, Genuine Loran as Suze, Sultana Crispell as Asher. The narrator is Janet Alford. Audio recording and sound editing by Janet Alford and Camille F. Mendoza. Sound effects courtesy of freesfx.co.uk. Musical pieces have been composed by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech. The musical interlude is Damien's Theme by Paul Raven. This recording has been sponsored in part by Picondo.com, your neighborhood, your way, with additional support by Explorium.org. All characters appearing in this work are fictitious. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental.
Suze, come here. Where's Damien Bell?
I don't know, Nell.
What do you mean you don't know? Peter, come here.
Another window appears with Peter in it. The edges of his saucer-shaped face have curled in on themselves, and his eyes have a strange look about them. A now quite alarmed Nell asks again.
Where is Damien?
We don't know.
How is that possible? When was the last time you saw him?
9:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Do you have a record of it?
Yes, I do.
He opens another window. Damien, elegantly dressed for the evening in a bespoke suit, which, unknown to Nell, was selected by Ellen and sourced by Asher, is close to One World Trade Center and striding toward the building when an impossibly old vehicle pulls up alongside the young man. Three very large men jump out of the vehicle and surround Damien, who holds up his hands in a gesture of non-aggression. Another more modern vehicle, unnoticed at first, has another 4 men in it, all about the same size and build as the first group, all in their 30s or 40s, it appears from the video. They take Damien's Q phone and empty his pockets. Damien is looking from face to face as if memorizing their images. He does not panic. Then Damien is gone. Nell is in a complete state of uncomprehending grief by the end of this short video. She's in shock and, in her weakened physical state, she does panic. The staff in the room seems to be no help at all, and her QEs are just as useless at the moment. She doesn't know what to do or who to call.
He's gone. I came to this awful place, but he wasn't here. They've taken him. I can't find him. He's gone.
Who's gone, Nell? Nell,
Damien, some men took him.
were you there when they took him? Are you in danger now?
No.
No, you weren't there when they took him, or no, you're not in danger?
No to both.
Is Decca there? Let me speak to him, please, now.
He's not here.
Where is he?
I came here alone.
You what? You went without any security? Table that. Peter, Suze, Asher, are you on this call?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Where is Damien?
We're unable to find him.
I saw the video record.
Asher, please show me the video. Nell, I want you to stay right there. You're not to move.
It's creepy here.
Nell, you are not to move. I'm going to call Deco right now, and he will be here within 40 minutes. You're going to be fine.
But what about Dee?
Look, the video tells us a lot about the men who took him. If they were some kind of religious freaks or extremists who wanted Damien dead, they would have killed him on the spot. He's not dead. I will find him and we will get him back in one piece now. I promise you that. But now, one more thing before I go. I have a lot to do, so you have to promise me one thing, okay?
Okay.
Never do this again. Tell me again why you didn't report this right away.
Quantum entities do not easily interpret signals from humans that form within the most primitive parts of their brains. I was unclear what to do. I had no orders from Damien to follow, which as you know is Law 2, and I was unsure whether any action I took would help or hurt him, which is Law 1. So I did nothing until summoned by Nell.
Peter, you know what 911 is, right?
Yes, of course. Are you going to call 911, Ellen?
He has her there. She is definitely not going to call 911 until she is sure who took him. So she goes in a different direction.
Under what conditions are these people holding Damien, given what you have seen of them, their technology and their capabilities?
The first integrated circuit was built by Nobel Prize winner Jack Kilby at Texas Instruments in 1958. The first circuits contained few transistors, but for quantum entities, anything that contains an electronic circuit, even small-scale integration, is sufficient for our purposes. From the video, we can see that the car that removed Damien was an Oldsmobile Cutlass, model F85, which means it was manufactured in the first year of their introduction to the United States, which was 1961. It is safe to assume that there are no electronics of any type in such a vehicle, not in its engine or unibody components. Hence, the vehicle is completely opaque to a QE.
Okay, that's the car. What about where they have him interred? Can you assess what condition that might be?
I have been analyzing that. We believe it is likely an underground cave or bunker that dates to the Cold War era, circa the 1950s or early part of the 1960s, a place that either has no media walls, computers, LEDs, telephones, radios, televisions, or any other equipment that could possibly contain ICs or has been stripped of them. We think it is the former. It would be too hard to make sure they got every IC. Better to start with one that never had any in the first place.
Who would have the skill and capability to mount such an operation and sustain it? Could one of their competitors have done this, or one of the fringe organizations that have published anti-QE material?
We consider that unlikely, probability of less than 1 in 100.
Okay, so what about the other 99%?
It is likely that the operation was mounted by an arm of the U.S. government.
That's why Peter didn't call 911, and neither did I, Ellen is thinking.
To what purpose? To gain what advantage?
Unknown. The U.S. federal government has many arms and cliques, branches, services, and hidden secret organizations.
Could it have been the U.S. military?
Possibly, but we consider that unlikely. They are still mostly set up for large-scale, set-piece action. It is more likely to be one of the following: DOC, DHS, FBI, FCC, or FTC, EPA, or FDA. It could also be the National Security Agency or the CIA.
What is your best estimate?
Department of Homeland Security.
This is also Ellen's gut feeling. It won't take long for Ellen and Asher to find out why they've grabbed Damien.
What DHS or U.S. military facility are within 200 miles of New York City that fit the profile of the place you have described? Look most closely in the vicinity of Washington, D.C. If they've taken him anywhere, it's there. Some bigwig from DHS is going to want to talk to him, and those lazy buggers will want him within an hour and a half's drive of their nice, comfy, leafy fucking homes.
It's the first time Asher has ever heard Ellen swear.
First, the old U.S. Naval Observatory, now home of successive U.S. vice presidents. In December 2002, neighbors complained of noisy construction work. It is located on Massachusetts Avenue, northwest in D.C. It has long been rumored to have a bunker for the protection of the vice president during lockdowns.
Too recent and too close.
In the late 1950s, the U.S. government approached a hotel by the name of Greenbrier to build an emergency bunker for the U.S. Congress in the event of nuclear war. The project was built from 1959 to 1962.
Sounds promising. Right era, at least. How far from D.C.?
Along I-66 West and I-81 South, approximately 248 miles or 4 hours and 6 minutes by ground vehicle.
Much too far.
You sound like Goldilocks.
The last one?
Actually, we believe they could be using either Andrews Air Force Base, located 11 miles southeast of D.C. in Maryland, or Langley Air Force Base, about 170 miles south of D.C. in Hampton, Virginia. Peter has looked at aerial photos dating from the beginning of the 20th century to the present. Massive excavations and earthworks are shown in the southeast quadrant of Langley between 1955 and 1960. By 1965, there is no trace of those works. Analysis of surface traffic over the last decade strongly suggests Building B is the entrance to their underground bunker.
Okay, we know where we are going to be when the sun comes up. Now all I need is a writ of habeas corpus demanding DHS take Damien before a court of law and the meanest motherfucker of a lawyer in this town. Suze, can you please get me Henry Linnert on the phone?
It's just after 2 a.m. Do you wish me to disturb him at this hour?
Ellen puts her hands on her hips and stares at her stonily.
I'm placing the call now.
My name is Zbigniew Zimmerman. You may call me Dr. Zimmerman.
Damien says nothing. He sees a spider-like middle-aged man, quite hairy everywhere. Bushy dark eyebrows, dark hair with some gray streaks, hair growing out of his nose and ears, hairy arms where Damien can see them poking out of his gray suit jacket sleeves. He's thin, but Damien thinks not from exercise, but because of high metabolism, since he still has a bit of a paunch.
Mr. Bell, do you know how many laws of the United States that you have personally broken, not to mention your company, Quantum Computing?
Dr. Zimmerman, do you know how many laws you have broken by bringing me here and chaining me to this chair?
Well, under Homeland Security Act 3, I would say you and your firm are in breach of, let me see, 17 separate statutes, which, if they are pursued to the fullest extent of the law and you are found guilty, could send you to prison for the rest of your life, Mr. Bell, and result in separate fines on your company of $10 million new dollars per day on each count, by the way.
I am a Canadian citizen and demand to see the Consul General.
You are remarkably misinformed for somebody I was told showed such promise. You are a dual citizen of Canada and the United States, and hence quite subject to all the many, many laws of this land of the free and home of the brave.
You must be a lawyer, Dr. Zimmerman.
I take it you do not approve.
Not if you use the law to upset ethics. Where the law and ethics separate, ethics must prevail.
Not at all, Mr. Bell. Quite wrong. You know of situational ethics, no doubt. I'm quite sure that the greatest barbarians in recorded history felt they were just doing God's work by, for example, cleansing the earth of lesser races. Perhaps you are persuaded of that.
A man falls in a rushing river. He is drowning. A good Samaritan runs over and hauls him out. The man is so grateful he offers the Samaritan a generous reward, who then goes home to await his beneficence, which never arrives. He calls the man a few weeks later, who now says he was just kidding about the reward, so the Samaritan goes to a lawyer, who tells him that under contract law, a contract can only be formed by offer, acceptance, and consideration, in that precise order. And since the consideration in this case, pulling the man from certain death, was performed before the offer was made or accepted, no contract has been formed and the Samaritan has no legal claim for compensation. The lawyer tells the Samaritan, next time you see a drowning man, say to him first, if I pull you out, will you give me a reward, then afterwards rescue him, and you have a valid, enforceable contract. But you and I both know, Dr. Zimmerman, that no person of good conscience would ever do such a thing, present company accepted.
We seem to be on different pages, you and I, but perhaps not for long. I understand that your company, a most promising one, I might add, recently announced, actually yesterday, its intention to IPO. I was wondering if you as CEO felt that such an IPO might be successful with, say, a cloud hanging over it, such as massive antitrust litigation brought against it for monopoly practices by both Department of Justice and Federal Trade Commission.
What monopoly are you referring to?
Well, the fact that Quantum Computing Corporation controls 100% of the market for Q phones and quantum entities. That is a rather large share of any market, I'm sure you will agree, Mr. Bell.
We do not control the market for QEs, since we do not trade in quantum counterparts. Your argument is without merit, Dr. Zimmerman. I would not be here if you thought you had a case. You brought me here by force, in breach of my most basic human rights. If you had any justification whatsoever, you would have already started an action in the normal course of events.
You completely overstate your position, Mr. Bell. One hint about litigation and your IPO is toast.
Dr. Zimmerman, I am absolutely sure that Miss Brooks, our COO, has already thought of that and is preparing right now, as we speak, a media release and conference which will address U.S. claims, whatever they may be. We would not be the first tech company to face such challenges, most of which survived and indeed thrived despite U.S. action. I have no doubt Q Computing will survive it too, even if our IPO is delayed perhaps for years. We have a young company, we can wait. We'll outlast you.
Perhaps, but you won't, Damien.